You always use that active red light defending. I think it's like you always use that active red light defending. I think it's like you always use that active red light defending. I think it's like
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. Are we live? Of course we're live. People deluded, I'm back again. Happy Friday, folks. As usual, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. One love to those of you on Twitch. Don't feel left out, YouTube. One love to you lot as well. If you're on YouTube, even if you're on Twitch, open up 2 tabs. Make sure you're cross-following. Make sure you're smashing the like button, you're commenting, you're subscribing. Again, these things push the nation. Any comments, questions, difference of views, they're all welcome. Football, like life, would be very boring if we all felt the same way. Throughout the course of this video, obviously, we're going to go over Mikel Arteta's press conference and we're going to go over relevant kind of talking points in relation to Chelsea and Arsenal. And, you know, as we gear towards January, it's becoming silly o'clock. Every minute there's transfer news. You know, there's, I think, Tab Police look away, but there's stuff around Smith Rowe, Pedro Neto, Ivan Toney, and yeah, the rest of it, people. So yeah, I hope you're doing well and safe, man. That righty clip never gets sold. Amen, my guy. Best intro. Shout out to you lot, man. I hope you lot are all doing well and safe. Happy Friday, right back at you. Again, smash the like button, comment, like, subscribe, all of that. And yeah, happy Friday to everyone in the chat. Hope the weekend's great for you. Hope it's amazing for us Arsenal fans. And I hope you've all had a great week. Big up DG. Congrats on your Adidas thing. Not gonna lie, your modeling work needs work though. I like it, man. I like it, bro. Like, man, do you know what? That weren't even the waviest pictures, bro. Like, this is. Do you know how much of a humbling experience this is? I'm just a humble YouTuber. I'm stepping in there. People are talking about makeup. This gal is doing makeup business. There's more lights on the guy. They're saying do different poses. And, you know, I thought I was scaring people because pick up the photographers because they're great at their job. They must have been like to me, oh, do you want to listen to any music and stuff, like, because they were playing music and that, like, do you want to listen to anything? I was like, no, I ain't finna scare no people. She was like, oh, what did you listen to on the commute here? And I thought it was an honest thing. So I was like, King Von. They started playing King Von. I'm looking at all these posh people and normal people. I'm like, yeah, man, this is a bit scary still. But yeah, big up to Go Up Mag. And I'd obviously Adidas for featuring me, people. If you don't know what that refers to as, then it's obviously this, man. You would have seen me post it on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Instagram, etc., etc. So yeah, man, the guy's getting 1-2 spotlight, man. What do you mean? That's a bad boy pose. What do you mean? Shout out to them. Let me keep the creps. It's a bad boy pose, man. It weren't the waviest picture I had, but yeah, man, it is what it is, man. It's just nice to, not that I'm in this for recognition necessarily, but it's nice, man. So shout out to you lot for your nice wishes and things like that. Grassroots games going to be cancelled up here in North with this weather, so need the Arsenal to turn up. Big up you lot. And I did see today on BBC, apparently if you're living up north, there's weather warnings and things. I hope you lot up north stay safe, man. Beating City was a breakthrough. Beating Chelsea would be a statement. I agree and disagree. I agree because obviously it keeps the run going. It shows we're serious to, you know, do one better than we did last season. Obviously, it's a top 6 clash. You know, we disappointed ourselves, in my opinion, against Spurs. We dropped points from winning positions, but considering the form and what Postecoglou, apologies, is doing so far, you know, as much as I can big up Spurs, big them up, we didn't lose. We beat Eric 10 excuses, obviously, at the Emirates. Statement victory, I would say, was against City. You know, I think the scores is like 11-12-1 on aggregate, but we beat the big boys for once. Obviously, well, I say once, we beat them at Wembley as well. So yeah, we beat them at the Emirates. We got 3 points, and that was almost a 6-pointer beyond the obvious because we dropped points against Spurs and Fulham. City are not going to drop too much points across the course of the season, although, you know, They've lost back-to-back Premier League games, I believe. And I will be doing a watch-along for Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Everton tomorrow. But we'll also be watching Manchester City against Brighton. That should be a great game because of everything. Mr. Holmes signed a new deal. It's about time you start getting me some FPL points. So I agree on that basis. And, you know, traditional top 6 sides are statements. And, you know, Chelsea have been on a joke thing for the last 18 months, but their form is slightly turning around. They have one of the best defensive records. You don't become a bad club or a bad team overnight. So you underestimate Chelsea at your own peril. Speaking for myself, I don't underestimate anyone, but generally, I can't blame Arsenal fans for being confident, having confidence in their team. But you know, sometimes it filters through, in my opinion, not you, Charlie, necessarily into arrogance. And you saw against Spurs, you know, on paper, we should have been walking the floor with them. And maybe if certain other players were there, if Jorginho doesn't do certain things, maybe we get away with the result there. I think you underestimate Chelsea at your own peril. Obviously, we were due a result against City, long overdue. Chelsea are due a result against us at the Bridge. We've got a good record there. And again, the City game means nothing if you go and lose to Chelsea. But again, there's going to be many bumps and bruises, twists and turns. I know, obviously, with the international break, we've been starving for football. And when you win against City, you're up in the clouds. If you lose a top 6 clash, you know, you're down in the dumps. But again, we just need to make it till January, getting into that new year, still talking about the same achievements that we hope for the club to do. So I wouldn't say Chelsea would be a statement because we've got them at Wembley. We've dealt with them at the Emirates. We've been dealing with them at Stamford Bridge. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a statement victory, but to a degree, you're right. Chelsea are a big club. Pochettino's a good manager. Chelsea are not going to be in this mess that they're in the last season and a bit for too long. So I hear you, man. And of course, I'd love to get 3 points. Shout out my guy Zims at Mula. Again, make sure you're following him on Twitch. He's already started the FM24 business. I'm saying 3-0 and shut up them Chelsea fans. Bro, I always say get the 3 points first, innit? Let's get the 3 points first and then talk about that stuff. I would take a point because it is a top 6 clash, live to fight another day. But of course, I would love to win. I could be wrong. But, you know, again, context is key. The table doesn't really mean anything. And I don't look at the league table, but I'm pretty sure we've got 20 points. They've got 11. They're actually not that much far away from us, really. And truly, these things could look very different, really. I'm thinking less about the opponent, but more following up the City win with another win. There you have it. There, I think we agree on that, really. Reaping the rewards from your hard work. Great to see. Charlie, we keep going. The job isn't done. Only thing I'm worried about the Chelsea game is the midfield because I got a feeling Mikel Arteta will pick Rice, Havertz, and Odegaard. I don't know what Arteta is thinking. We're going to go over the press conference, but, you know, I do think in hindsight, do you not remember in the early days of Mikel Arteta, he used some strong language. I can't remember word for word, but when things were getting leaked in relation to the club, he promised to more or less kill the rat or whoever was leaking information. Now it's kind of like Arsenal are shutting up shop and all the in-the-knows and the journalists, you know, they can make educated guesses and some of them obviously got contact, but Arsenal have made a point of kind of keeping things quiet, whether that's transfer news, whether that's status around players. You know, you look at Saliba, you look at Saka, etc. So without even looking at a word of what Mikel Arteta has or hasn't said, he probably will keep us guessing in relation to the fitness levels of a lot of players. I expect to see Saliba, Partey, who else, Saka, and all of them players that have had injury concerns play, but you just never know with Mikel Arteta. You saw it with the City game, you saw it with the England stuff. So yeah, who knows? And in relation to Mikel Arteta, I do have a funny feeling it will probably be the same team that played against City. Obviously, if our first choice, or my first choice, speaking for myself, front three is available in Gabriel Jesus, Bukayo Saka, and Martinelli, I'm going with that. But I don't know. He might draw for Havertz. He might keep Jorginho within the side. Who knows, really and truly? Have you seen Ben White's new hair? I have. And what I would say to Benjamin White, you've been in great form this season, fella. Smash the like button, by the way, people. He's been in great form and it needs to continue. You know, you can't be doing that blonde hair stuff if you're not going to put in a performance tomorrow. Or I have to move like Souness with Pogba and whatnot. Big up DG. I think Havertz, Nketiah, and Jorginho should be benched. I would drop Eddie Nketiah for Jesus through the middle. I would probably have Havertz as an impactor off the bench, similar to the City game. The Jorginho one, I think it more depends on how many minutes Partey has in his legs. We know he's nursing himself back with injury. He has travelled to play with Ghana, where the physio's gone off with him. He played 45 minutes there. I don't know. Again, if it's up to me, Partey, Odegaard, Declan Rice, that should be our first choice midfield three. I think it's got the perfect balance of physicality, of dynamism, of athleticism. We all know Odegaard, you know, presses from the front. Partey and Rice, you know what both of them players do, especially Declan Rice, and what a breath of fresh air he's been. I do think long term, I do think I do hope we sign a midfielder or two between January of next year and the summer of next year. But in an ideal world, I do think Arteta wants to move towards Rice, like Rice as the somewhat lone six or the primary defensive midfielder, among other things that Rice will bring into his game. Kai Havertz in that 8 and Odegaard through the 10. And there are games that call for that. But for me, top 6 clash, you go with your best team. And the team that finished the game for me against Man City would be the team that started. But saying that, you know, you look at Arsenal and Newcastle, they're very similar in that generally in the last 2 years now, including this season and last, players that maybe weren't, you know, fans didn't think much of them, they've come in and they've done a decent job. And to be honest with you, you know, everyone that played against City, they did what they needed to do. As you know, Fire, I'm with you. I would drop at 2 of the 3 really. I think Jorginho, it's a thing where, you know, if the medical people and Partey and he's 100% fit and he's ready to go, then for me, I drop Jorginho out and go with Partey. Even though I think Jorginho could work against Chelsea, I would not start Kai Havertz and Eddie Nketiah. I'm with you with that, if I'm honest with you. So we're going to need to stand up to be counted, if I'm completely honest, man. But yeah, I would love a 3-0 victory, but I don't quite think it will be there. Now, bro, I'm trolling elite modeling, bro. Can rival David Beckham. I don't know about that, but yeah, man, you know, Adidas, if you feel like ever sending me free stuff and discounts, bring that my way, man. You know, little influencer like me with over 8,000 videos of things, I shouldn't be paying for these Arsenal home shirts again. Allow me, people. I'm trying to make $1/save one, but yeah, man, with that being said, let's see exactly what Mikel Arteta has had to say in the eve of this game, people. Mikel Arteta spoke to the media in his pre-Chelsea press conference at London Coley on Friday morning ahead of Saturday's Premier League game at Stamford Bridge. On the latest team news, not a lot. We obviously haven't had a lot of players. It's the first training session we're going to do today. We'll know more after the training session. Now, Mikel Arteta knew the status of what his players, you know, what they were like before they went off to international duty, obviously during international duty, and he's getting to see them in training, but he's not going to give much away. It's a bit like Chelsea. Every news that comes out in relation to Chelsea, depending on where you read, Reece James is fit, then he's not fit, then he's fit, then he's not fit. There's a bit of gamesmanship from both sides or media outlets of both sides. On whether the international break came at a good time, it's not really, because it feels, you know, I would have loved to have kept the momentum going, really. In fact, you say that, you know, Saliba, Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, Benjamin White, not that he was going to get into Southgate's thinking. Players that are playing all the time, they got to rest their legs and things like that. During a good run, you want to continue, but it is what it is. We had to use it in the right way. Obviously, we have a lot of players on duty. Now we connect everybody with the same mindset and go, because we're going to have a really difficult game against Chelsea. On what Pep said to him in the aftermath of the City game, nothing is usual. We have lost quite a lot against them. And when you win, obviously, you get congratulated. It was an important game. It was a beautiful day for us, and we move on. It seems like ages ago. On whether it'll be a 2-horse race at the top, nope. Liverpool are still there. Spurs, it kills me to say it, but right now they're still there. We're still there, regardless of wherever City are in the table. You have to give them that credit. And mathematically, if you're in and about, really, I don't think it's the time to be talking about titles and things. And I definitely don't think it's to be talking about a 2-horse race. What happened last season isn't irrelevant, but it quote unquote is. Let's just do our job. I don't have a clue who is going to be involved. We want to be there. That's the only thing that I know. And in order to do that, we have to be perfect. The league is so demanding. You see it every week. And I think it's very open. Can't disagree with what the gaffer said there. On how much he's looking forward to the game. It's a big game. And we know that there's a big history between the two clubs and the type of games we have played against them. It's a very different one, I think. This season, I've been really impressed by Chelsea. They deserve much more than what they've got on the table. I think what Pochettino has done in such a short time is phenomenal, and we're going to have to be at our best. Now, I know one's obviously Chelsea now and previous Spurs ties, and you know, Mikel Arteta is an Arsenal man through and through, but they did play together at PSG, so there's probably a bit special there. The group chat's probably going to go crazy. On whether Kai Havertz is excited to be back against his former club, Jorginho as well, I'm sure they'll be there. They were there and speak really highly about the club and everyone there, so it'll be a special day for them. Aaron Ramsdale, I've done a video on it, but he's spoken recently about losing his place in the team. Obviously, Mikel Arteta was going to be asked in his press conference. He said, it's not easy for any player when he's not playing as much as he would like, but the only way to do it is to work harder, to show passion that you have for the game, and to contribute to the team in a different way. When you get the opportunity, do your best and try to help the team win the game. I don't think I can disagree with anything he said there. Liverpool will surely be a top contender this year or next. They did a really good job with their signage. All Liverpool need, in my opinion, is a number 6 or a number 6 or 2, because it does feel like they can only really play one way, and they've got some phenomenal players, but they don't have that handbrake that Fabinho, the void Fabinho has left, essentially. Got to play 2 Gabbies and Saka if fit up front. and Rice, Partey, and Odegaard in midfield. Defense is standard, and I think we'll do him. Gooner, I hope we can, man. I just want to go out there with my strongest team. But saying that, what I would have said was our strongest team wasn't necessarily what we did against City, and we got the results. So I can't really complain, really and truly. But yeah, definitely the midfield, because I think the midfield battle is very even. I think our defense, we're not perfect. We got a long way to go, but I think there's relative confidence. I actually think Chelsea, regardless of how many goals they've conceded or whatever, defend quite well. Obviously, both teams have quality in attacking positions that can make the difference if you give them a second. But I think the midfield battle is cliche because you always say this, but I think the midfield battle is where it's won and lost. And I think that's the most even one. If we go with Odegaard, Jorginho and Havertz or something of that ilk, I don't know. But if we go with Odegaard, Partey and Rice, provided everyone's fit, you'd imagine they're going to go, if these guys are fit, with Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo and potentially Conor Gallagher. He's going to be the legs in there. I think that's a good battle, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, man. On his old team, Rangers appointing a new manager. I wish him the best, and hopefully he can deliver again what he's done in other clubs, because he's had a phenomenal career already. So I wish him all the best, and hopefully he can get the club to where we want. He still says we. So he's a proud Rangers man. On the City result, it's the last experience of feeling that we've had between us, and it was a beautiful one. You could see in the atmosphere the importance of the game and the way we won it and how we controlled it against that team. But it's just a game. Now it's about having consistency and keeping the standards very, very high, because the next game against Chelsea is going to be even harder. On Chelsea's form, I think when you look first of all at the managing and coaching staff, they have the history of the club that they have, the players and the squad they have. It's going to happen. I think it has happened pretty quickly, not only in the last 3 results, but I think they demand much more in terms of results and points than what they have already. So I can see they're going to be up there. On whether he knows what team he is going to pick, I mean, he probably knows internally, but he's not going to tell us, is he? I don't have an idea, but I have to see them all together today and how everyone is, because we have a lot of people traveling around the world and with a lot of minutes in the legs. I want to judge what is best for tomorrow, not only in terms of what I want tactically, but how the energy is, how the mood is, how is the spirit. And in order to do that, I'm going to have a better clue after the training session today. Now, he's probably 98% sure of who he's going to start. There might be 1 or 2 players that might change his thinking. Maybe they've been chomping on the bit to get into the team and he's impressed them in training. Maybe his coaching staff have, had 1, 2 voices in his ears and maybe changed his thinking tactically. But I'd imagine the nucleus of Mikel Arteta's side, he's had a week or 2 to think about what he wants to do. I don't want to lose to Chelsea. It'd be embarrassing. Boy, I hear you, but top 6 games can go either way, my boy. So, yeah, I would love to win, but we've got to go out there and put in a performance that warrants such, because I think although we've been done well this season, I think there's many gears we can go up defensively. I don't think we've hit our optimum, in an attacking sense. And I think that's good. And it shows the elevated standards, because we've been getting the results really and truly. Obviously, we lost against Lens. We dropped points against Fulham and Spurs. Excluding that, it's been near enough perfect. And right now, we've got 1 loss in all comps, and it hasn't come in the Premier League. Hopefully, that is not the case on Saturday. Obviously, we'll be doing a watch along on Saturday. I'll be live half an hour before kickoff at 5 p.m. If you're on YouTube, it's pinned to the message. So make sure you got your notification bells on and you're smashing the like button. But we knew Mikel Arteta wasn't going to really shed any light on the benefits of not having an out-and-out striker in the team. I would like to have an out-and-out striker, and then Mikel Arteta can do all the false nines he wants. I think having players with different qualities gives you different options, and it is always related to the opponent, what behaviors they have and what other players you have around that number 9. If you have midfielders as wingers coming in field and 9 that wants to come in field and attacking midfielders that are holding midfielders, you don't have any threat. We have a 9 that wants to come forward. Attacking midfielders are constantly threatening the last line, proper wingers, then it becomes a different threat. You have players in the last line that can progress the play. We have players in the last line that can link those pockets and make the runs that attract central defenders. It depends a lot on the qualities of all the players. You can't just isolate the 9. You have to see the whole thing. Amen. How he connects and what kind of threats and things that you do. If you don't have a big 9 inside the box, you lose something. If you're going to start crossing over your fullbacks, you're probably going to have an issue, which is probably why we don't cross that much. But there are many ways to attack, and depending on the opponent, maybe that option is better than another one. On whether the midfielders are more important than the false 9, not really, because they're all central. The number 9, whoever plays up there, is our first defender, in the same way that Raya, our goalie, is our first attacker. Shows the system. I think the combination of all those qualities and other assets and ingredients that you should have as a team to attack well, it's not only the 9, it's the other players. On Bukayo Saka, I don't know how they're going to approach it. When our players are fit, we are really happy to let them go to their national teams. We've always done that. And if the player wants to go, I think it's a great fulfillment and opportunity for them every time they go there. So if the players are fit, they're going to be available to be taken. On the risk of burnout, if you ask the players, some think they feel better when they are playing every 3 or 4 days. They can get a knock or injury. It's part of the game. On Bukayo Saka potentially even playing against Chelsea, I'm sure he wants to play. I don't see any player that doesn't want to be in the starting 11. On Saliba, hopefully not, but he has been carrying that for weeks now. We have to use that time to settle. We believe that this was the best moment to do it. It depends on how he trains today. On us potentially winning 4 times in a row at Stamford Bridge, we go game by game, and tomorrow they have a really strong squad who are playing at home. I'm probably feeling embarrassed, but we have that's my points. But we have as well, we're in a good moment. We will try to play better than them and beat them. That's it. What's happened in the past doesn't matter. On his relationship with Poch, he said, my first professional opportunity was in Paris. We arrived at the same time and we lived together in the same hotel for 3 months. He was critical. He's been one of the most influential people in my footballing career. Big praise for Pochettino. First of all, as a player, he took me under his wing and he looked after me like a little brother. A big part of the success that I had in Paris was because of him, because he really looked after me and gave me a lot of confidence and advice. He's been a role model for me since that day, not only when I was a manager, player, but manager as well. I had to make the decision to leave playing and start in my coaching career, and he had a big say on that. I'll always be grateful for what he's done to me. He said they've seen each other a couple of times in London. Big up Pochettino for that. Are we seeing Ramsdale earning a start against Chelsea after Raya's shaky game against City? I wouldn't say Raya was shaky against City. Of course, he had some shaky moments. You know, the Alvarez thing. There was a pass where he showed Declan Rice really short. First half, a couple of the passes weren't to his standard. But, I mean, the man's kept a clean sheet. You know, Mikel Arteta has defended the man and said, I told him to play like that. And if the manager has told you to play like that, then in my opinion, you've showed massive bollocks to do that against City. So I wouldn't necessarily say that. I don't think Ramsdale's chance is going to come against Chelsea. You never know, really. Arteta could flip that on its head 24 hours from now, or just over 24 hours. I do think Ramsdale's first start in a while will probably come in the cup, I think 2 weeks, because I think we're in the Champions League next week. 2 weeks, I think we got West Ham on a Wednesday or something like that in the cup. So I think that's when his start will come. But you never know. If Raya's form dips, or if Ramsdale's training better than him, then boy, you've got 2 international goalkeepers fighting each other. And I know Matt Turner's technically that, but let's be honest, you know, Matt Turner is nowhere near Raya standard and he's nowhere near Ramsdale standard. So there was never that healthy fear. We finally got competition. Had Timber have been fit, you know, as good as Zinchenko's been and Benjamin White's been really underappreciated in terms of getting praise. You know, had Timber have been fit, the same things we're saying about Ramsdale, we could potentially be saying about either Zinchenko on the left or obviously Benjamin White on the right, really. And I think us Arsenal fans need to probably get comfortable that players we hold in high regards, Arteta might, you know, displace them and try and upgrade the system with better players, or they might go from being first names on the team sheets to squad players, especially if we go where we need to. When are you live streaming on Twitch for Football Manager 2024? I'm aiming for Sunday. In my opinion, the only games Ramsdale will play for us is the 2 cup games against Brentford in the PL, the cup games. Oh, yeah, technically he can't. Raya can't play. So, yeah, there's always that factor as well. I don't wish injury on anyone, but, you know, if there was an injury, then Ramsdale gets his spot back. So, yeah, people. And he did say Poch could obviously turn things around at Chelsea. We've spoken about the penalty stuff before. On whether it makes us unpredictable, of course it does. On Saka's rest, he's been working so hard to be fit for this game. Let's see where he is today. He had a couple of days off that he needed, but the rest, unfortunately, has not been rest for him because he needed the treatment and training to get ready to be available against Chelsea. On how he prevents burnout, it's our responsibility to monitor them, but as well, it is also in relation to the days off they get. The way we train, you cannot take certain parts of training out. So it's not only about the minutes when they're on the field, because sometimes we want to rest them, but we ask them to be out on the training field for 3 hours, which to do them a big favor. There's some balance there, but at the end, when you want to be a top player, you have to be able to play every 3 days and play 65 to 70 games. It is what it is. And I think that's an indirect to probably Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, and all the players we waffle about needing rest. And I can't disagree with Mikel Arteta. I think there's a wider debate to be had, people, about players needing rest and all the international friendlies. And you look at someone like Bukayo Saka or people that are, you know, key players for club and country. You know, you had a World Cup last year and a congested fixture calendar list. And obviously, dependent on your club's competitions they're in and how far they go. There's a lot of games there. And there's also with this Nations League and pointless international friendlies, there's a bunch of games. And we've got Euros at the end of this year as well. So I think there is a wider debate to be said about players' rest and fatigue. And, players essentially are guinea pigs, really and truly. But isolated to this, it is really. I look back to the Lens game and it could have been a different outcome. But, you look at the performance we did in that result. Yeah. And we played a strong team. Imagine what would have happened if we rested players and took certain man out. I'm not being funny, but there's games every 3 days. I can't see where the rest comes. The rest probably to a degree comes against West Ham in that cup where we can probably be a bit cute and clever. The rest can't happen against Lens. The rest definitely can't happen against Sevilla next week. It can't happen against Chelsea. It is what it is, people, if I'm completely honest with you. Of course, you need a squad equipped to do such. So I think Arteta's bang on the money. I think we have to play him when we see he's in the right condition to play, mentally, physically, and that he's performing. He deserves to play. That's another story. But so far, when he's played that amount of minutes, it's because we believe he was ready to cope. On us being defensively solid at the expense of being more dangerous up front, I want to concede nothing and create a lot. So there's no plan for that. Obviously, we know the foundation to win games, and that's where it's coming from. Keeping the amount of clean sheets we've kept in the last 7 games has been very important to make the right steps, but we want to attack better. When you look at other teams, you can't just isolate for 90 minutes. It's about the game state. There are periods as well. The scoreline has a big say when those expected roles have shifted, and I guess who do you play against is another one. A lot of teams have been defending with really low blocks, so open play is something, but set pieces are not something very different to the game. They're all connected. So it's as important to be able to do that, because against low blocks, we're going to be able to generate more free kicks, more corners than last year. So that's going to have an impact to attack well. You have to be able to attack well in various areas, because that's the moment where the opponents can open up. I don't think anybody can disagree with what the gaffer has said there. War is a strong word to use considering all the conflict in the world at the moment. Again, thoughts go out with everything going on in the world and whatnot. And football does mirror society. You are warranted in that. But I think I speak for every person using their common sense. From a footballing sense, it is a war, really. It's Chelsea versus Arsenal. This is a game that's filled with massive highs for Arsenal and massive lows. It is a war. Both teams are going to want 3 points. There's bragging rights and etc. etc. Again, I know we're in a bit of a snowflake society. Every word, that I and you lot use could be seen as that. I think I speak for everyone with a bit of common sense. Football is, football is just a game, but arguably it's more important than that, really and truly. It's even more important than life or death from a footballing sense. So I double down on that, actually. Tomorrow is war and it's anything but, and I want the players to treat it like that. Of course, playing a football match is very different from the conflict we see going on at this moment in time, which thoughts are with everyone over the world. I know right now, Israel and Palestine is what's taking spotlight, but there's unfortunately genocide and wars going on across many different aspects and many different continents. So thoughts are with them. But getting back to a footballing sense, away from all of that, he spoke about Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus on the pitch together. Obviously, we had injuries and we had the availability we have. We've missed other players as well in midfield that are very, very important. Thomas Partey, but I'm sure we'll get them back. It's about being able to win and continue to perform in the right way, even when those players aren't there. And now we're going to have the opportunity to see them, I'm sure. On Jack Wilshere, I'm really happy that Jack is part of the setup. I think he's done really well. I think he was really needed around the academy and the place. And those things are going to happen when people are doing well. He's going to get attraction, and then it's going to come down to him to make the decision best for his career. On whether he could manage Arsenal in the future, yeah, but way down the line, you don't know when that is. It could be very soon. He's got the potential to do it. Hey, Arteta, cool off. Let's keep doing what you're doing before we talk about Wilshere. Wilshere's got a lot, if anything, if you could make 1-2 phone calls, go and park him off at City with Pep Guardiola, let him be one of them coaching staff. And then when you achieve things at this club and you want to go either to Rangers, to PSG, to Everton, to City, even teams you've been with, or a big boy club in Spain, whether that's Sociedad, because I think he's got attraction there, Barcelona or Real Madrid, do what you're doing. Let's start the grooming process, really and truly, because you look at Pep Guardiola's City, Arteta probably was the man to step up to take over, and I'm sure, I don't know where they're at with that now. So yeah, man, Wilshere's got a long way to go before he can get involved in that. But yeah, on what advice Poch was given to him, really, don't go into coaching. It's too hard. That was the first thing. I knew he was going to be a coach. I followed him very closely, obviously, because as a player, he was already a leader. The way he understood the game, it was phenomenal. I used to have him consistently coaching me. I'm very proud of what he's done, and especially the way he's done it through his footballing career. On potential similarities, no, I think in a lot of senses we are different. He had some big influences in his career, especially one that he had which marked his career a lot. In general, I think we have a lot of values that are similar. On whether Arsenal are more mature now, yes, but that maturity is linked to what? Our results. So if that day we play in a really mature way but don't win, will we say that it's not too mature? So I don't pay too much attention to that. It's the way we compete, it's the way we behave, and the mentality we have to show. Regardless of that, yes, I do see an evolution, not only this season, but the season before. Before, I saw a big shift in that, and certainly we can still improve. On the importance of keeping our heads against Chelsea, yes, it's important and to be better than them as well. Both, once again, people, he's spoken in relation to several players' injuries and whatnot, and we're going to have to see where Trossard, Saliba, and Saka are concerned. Have we missed anything out, people? Obviously, he spoke about the training session. We covered that. We spoke about that. So he hasn't really given anything specifically away in relation to that game. So there you have that. We've all covered that. Making sure I don't miss a beat. That was just me reading Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain stuff. Victor Osimhen to leave Napoli. Owner teases sale with Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal target facing tricky talks. I mean, they're probably trying to get him to sign a new deal. He probably, if he doesn't sign one by the summer, then they've got a big decision to make. Big up, let's activate. I'm not explaining myself at all, but it's just disclaimers, really and truly. Saliba carrying a small injury. Heard something about injections for tomorrow. Well, we heard going into the City game, and in general, he's been carrying with that. And many players across the leagues in Europe are probably doing such. So yeah, hopefully, with the rest he's been able to have, and you've seen him, get some new marketing opportunities with Crocs and whatnot. Hopefully he doesn't need that. But it speaks volumes of Saliba's commitment to put his body on the line and just how bloody good the guy is. Because if he's been playing with injections and he's bullied Haaland like that, imagine what a fully fit he does. But that's what it annoys me when people say footballers don't care. Saka, Saliba, many a player, probably players, Benjamin White even, Holding said it in an interview. Many players play when they're not 100%. That's why I find it hard to say when people say Arsenal players don't care historically. I don't think anyone said that in the last couple of years. Let's see what this Napoli stuff is saying, people. Apparently, there's been a breakdown in contract talks or a hint of such, people, via their owner. I've never not been calm when it comes to Osimhen, but there are two sides with these things, said the Napoli owner. I remain the same. If his mood has changed, then there's not much I can do about that. If things change after a handshake, that is disappointing. We take it into account, but life goes on. We have a great relationship with him. His contract runs until 2025, so there's time. There is time to get him a new deal, people. And in the summer, I do think he'll go for a lot of money, but 120 million euros, because if you're trying to buy him every week or day or hour that ticks in that summer, Napoli need to make a choice. Do you sell him in the summer, or do you risk him running down his deal? I don't know. I don't think they let him go in January. David Ornstein reveals lack of budget or desire from Arsenal to do significant business in January. I do think Arsenal have shown that nobody knows anything. And I don't think Ornstein is necessarily saying via that headline that we won't do business. But in terms of spending 100 million plus on Osimhen, allegedly Neto has an asking price of 70 million, whatever Brentford want for Ivan Toney, you've seen as conservatives as 60 million all the way to 80, 100. I don't think we're going to do that. Maybe we'll be a bit tricky and clever with the additions. We've got Jorginho, Trossard, and Kirill for not the most groundbreaking of fees in world football. Maybe we do something like that, which I'm not necessarily against. Let's pause this. David Ornstein has suggested that there's unlikely to be any significant business in January at Arsenal unless something changes. What specifically has he said? I mean, we have shown we'll use the loan market. He said, from what I hear, there isn't much budget or desire to do significant business in January. And naturally, that would put Arsenal in a stronger position to invest again next summer. I don't think we can question owners' KSE willingness to do so since taking full control of the club. It's more a matter of what FFP rules enable them to do. The Raya deal going through as a loan with an option to buy illustrates that Arsenal are sailing close to the win. Who knows, really, because I actually think we'll sign a central midfielder. I don't think we'll sign a striker or a winger. Well, definitely not household name profiles, but you never know. Things can change. Players that we didn't feel available may be available. We could change our mind. Maybe there's some sales there. We don't know what's going to happen with Smith Rowe. Every window, really, and especially as we get better and better, Emil Smith Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, and Nelson, even though they've all been tied down to new deals and they've all got a role to play, their futures are going to be subject to speculation. I wouldn't mind Tony at Arsenal, but he's not a player I'd want to overpay just because. In an ideal world, no one would want to overpay, but sometimes I don't think Arsenal would want to spend 105 million on Declan Rice, but look what he brings to the table. I'd like to think Mikel Arteta and them man didn't want to spend 60 odd million on Kai Havertz, and he's looking a bit brazy right now, but no one wants to overpay. But unfortunately, this is the business. But I do agree with you. If there's a deal to be done for quote unquote an affordable fee, because we're still talking about millions of pounds here, I wouldn't be against Ivan Toney, but I can't see Arsenal being held to ransom because, for instance, he's been linked with Chelsea, Arsenal, and Spurs. Not that I don't think Arsenal don't need a striker, but and to be fair with you, Spurs have so far coped with the departure of Harry Kane quite well. But you'd imagine they might press more for a striker. Chelsea might press more for a striker. If there's a deal to be done, then maybe we'll get it done. But yeah, I don't think it's a quote unquote need in January, even though I would want such people. FFPs and what rhymes with itch. FFP is exactly that. But rules are there to be broken. My understanding is that once they are in a more comfortable FFP position and able to spend properly again, the first outlay will likely to be turning that move into a permanent transfer. Therefore, I'm sure they'll have a plan as to how they wish to proceed. Most probably, as things stand, that they'll start with a striker. We've seen all the names linked. There is also a long-held desire to provide backup competition for Saka, potentially depth at left back cover if Tierney leaves, and so on. Tierney has gone. And to be honest, next summer, even January, but like what significant outgoings could there be? Even this summer, obviously Tierney's a poster boy for the exit, but I wouldn't say that's a significant sale per se. It was Balogun because of the loan spell we had. Next summer, maybe Ramsdale could go and fetch a decent fee. Maybe Emil Smith Rowe could go if he doesn't go in January and fetch a decent fee. Whether the Congas, the Tavares I don't want to throw Tierney into that, but Tierney, I don't know if anyone's forthcoming with permanent offers, and we have spent a lot of money. And you do need to remember Saka, Saliba, Martinelli, Odegaard, Ramsdale, potentially Benjamin White. They've all been given new deals or in the process of such, which I'm no finance man, but that does play a part in your quote unquote budget, as does the wages for Declan Rice and Kai Havertz as much as the fee. Really, I changed the team up a bit in the cup apart from the FA Cup. That's our cup. Amen. If Saka isn't fit, would be nice to see Martinelli, Havertz, Jesus front three. I hear it, but Havertz as a false nine against his former team, it could work. My bias is, and again, Havertz should really be playing ahead of Eddie Nketiah, but if that's the case, then for me, it's probably a case of if Trossard's fit, Martinelli, Trossard, and Nketiah, really, I'd be a lot more comfortable with that. I'm sure Arsenal, like most teams, will be scouring the market for top emerging talent and good value for money deals, which obviously will be easier to do than big money transactions. Don't think anybody can disagree with that there. We've spoken about Jack Wilshere. We've gone over Aaron Ramsdale as well. And if you haven't, check out the video I posted today. Phil Cohen agrees to join Arsenal after telling Rangers he's leaving. Allegedly, this individual at Rangers has handed in his notice. He's the head of talent ID and he's decided to quit. Is that in relation to Ben Napier, who was previously talent ID and then became the loan manager? Or is this just a change in where Arsenal are going? It's believed Cohen has informed Rangers of his decision after accepting an offer from Arsenal to head their academy scouting department, which could be great, really and truly. Bring him. He's got 15 years of experience. Fair enough. Get it done, really, if that's how we want to move. I spoke to Arsenal scouts. Club vice director explains why defenders moved to Gunners collapsed people. This is in relation to Diamonde now at Sporting Lisbon, who, you know what? We've been linked with him. We've been linked with Gurhi. I actually think, and obviously Ornstein said we're looking at a centre-back. I think Arsenal would like to bring in another centre-back if they could, really and truly. Maybe if we could bring someone that's levels, there's scope for, Saliba being rested. But I do like our defensive options. I would have loved for Tierney to stay. That would have been icing on top of the icing on the cake. But, if everyone's fit, which is a big if, smash the like button, by the way. You've got Tomiyasu, who can cover multiple roles. Timber the same. You've got Kirill kind of that ilk. You've obviously got Gabriel. You've got many players there, man. So, yeah, there you have it. In relation to my man, he said he was with us for about 7 months. We signed him when he was about to turn 18. He arrived in November and we included him in the under-19s team. I remember he played in a youth league game against Benfica and there were scouts watching the game to assess Benfica players. At the end, they rang to ask how Diomande was, where he come from. I spoke to the Arsenal scouts who saw his videos and asked for more information. They were interested. Brexit made that situation difficult, but if it hadn't been for that, he might have gone there and it would have been lovely. But I'd say everything happens for a reason. Maybe he wouldn't be where he is in the game right now had that have happened, really. He was already coveted at the time. It was Arsenal who spotted him in the under-19. So it shows we've been monitoring him for a while. But others too, there are a lot of people interested. There are Premier League clubs who have been looking to find out more about him. He's actually been linked with Chelsea recently, people. Sporting bought him for 7.5 million euros. He's got an 80 million euro release clause. Allegedly, he's valued via transfer mark at 25 million euros. I mean, if you're Sporting Lisbon and you hear Premier League clubs, especially with how Arsenal in the last 2 years have spent money, you're not letting my man go for no 25 million, even though that is a handsome flip. What's this, people? Apparently, Osimhen's already got an agreement in place with Liverpool, really. Allegedly. I'm not going to read too much into that because it seems like silly o'clock. Allegedly, West Ham have first refusal on Arsenal attacker Emil Smith-Rowe. According to footballtransfers.com, West Ham have first refusal on Arsenal attacker Smith-Rowe. Sources have informed us that the Hammers will get the first opportunity to snap up Smith-Rowe if he departs the Emirates next year. I mean, if he isn't getting more game time, you need to go on loan. I'm a bit reluctant to let you go permanently because, you know, if he goes on loan, he shows up at West Ham and he looks like the Smith Rowe that previously was and saw him earn the number 10, then we're in a stronger negotiating position. It's a bit like Aaron Ramsdale. You know, if he wants to leave, he probably will be a permanent one, but you could go out on loan. And that's one thing I have liked with Arsenal tying these players down, really. We understand that Smith Rowe was David Moyes' preferred choice over Kudus, but it was the Ghanaian who was signed. I mean, you'd stay in London, big club like West Ham, experienced manager like David Moyes, who I'm sure Arteta could give a glowing reference on. It'd be lit. I'd love to see Smith Rowe get some game time. You know, the 23-year-old is at a vital stage in his career. I don't think even if he's fit and firing, he goes off with the Euro squad, but there's a chance. He has been capped 3 times. I would like to see him get more opportunities. I wouldn't say Havertz has grabbed these opportunities in the left 8. Fabio Vieira's done relatively well. Done a lot better than Havertz, in my opinion, but hasn't grabbed it. It'd be nice to see Smith Rowe get an opportunity. From now till January, be very telling for a number of players, people. Allegedly, this has also said that they've been told Arsenal are searching the market in the hope of signing a right-footed defender on loan for the season to cover for Tomiyasu and Partey, both of whom are on AFCON and AFC Asian Cup duty. I mean, that's a spanner in the works. Furthermore, there's a need to bolster the back line following the long-term injury sustained by Timber. I mean, Cedric Suarez, we forgot he's there. He's playing with the under-23s is a thing. It's a bit annoying, really. I completely forgot Partey and Tomiyasu might not be a thing at a point in January. Apparently, Arsenal are looking to step up their pursuit of signing Wolves' informed winger Pedro Neto to ease the workload on the right-hand side for Saka. I mean, he's contracted until 2027. One of the best attackers so far in the Premier League. You know, is another one that before Arteta's regime we've been linked with. You know, we was linked with him with his Braga days, Lazio days. You know, I can't see Wolves letting him go in January. You know, he's tied down on the contract. He's one of their best players. They need him to do what they're doing, but on ability, I like him. Electrifying pace, lovely trickery. Generally, his statistics in terms of goal scoring are not any or assists are not anything to scream and shout about, but he has done very well in that really recently. And, you know, when you think of him, as it says there, is to compete / deputize for Saka, but he's also shown on the left-hand side this season for Wolves he could do well. So I'd love him, but a bit like Ivan Toney and just about anyone, you've got to pay an inconvenience fee in January if you want to get these guys. We all know Arteta is an admirer of his. We've spoken about this limited budget. We understand that if the possibility does arise where both Neto and Ivan Toney, whom Arsenal are also keen on, do become available in January, the Gunners boss would prefer to bring in the Wolves winger over the much more expensive Brentford striker due to the increasing pressure put on Saka. I hear it, but then they're both going to cost a lot of money, really. You know, really. It says that Wolves want 70 million. We valued Neto at 40. You're not going to get that, really. You know, if you was to get Ivan Toney, let's just assume we get Ivan Toney for 60 million and you get Neto for 40. That's 100 million in January off the back of what we did in the summer as well, really, which 65, I don't know the maths, but 65 on Havertz, 105 on Rice, you know, a loan fee on Raya. Timber costs about 20, 30 odd million quid. New deals as well, as we've spoken about. So, yeah, Eddie's been peeing me off lately. Has improved a lot in the past year, but he can't be the one we rely on whenever Jesus can't stay fit. I'd be sad to see Smith Rowe go. Me and you both. Smith Rowe had some bad injuries. Bless him, he needs time, and I think Arteta will give it to him. I remember how long it took for Arteta to mold Martinelli into the player he wanted, and during that time, everyone was linking Gabby away from the club. I trust the club on these things now because they've given me no reason not to. I hear it. Tonight, the international break ends, and so does my clinical depression. I would much rather we use Ben Wright as a striker than watch Havertz miss kicking the ball dead in front of goal. Bit harsh, man. Bit harsh, really. Bit harsh, really. Bit harsh, really. A Bagsman striker is needed to take this team to the next level. We've come far with Eddie and Ketir and Jesus, but I can't lie, I only see it going downhill from here. Fair enough, man. Neto and Nelly, transitional demons. Imagine if we had them in the squad. So we'd have to see. But long story short, you got to pay the bread. And January, I know we have brought in some significant players in the past in January, but it isn't one we spent. We might bring in some low cut deals. We might do some loans, as you've seen here with several examples. It said at the end of the article there. Neto has the joint most assists in the Premier League this season with 5. In the past 2 seasons, he's managed just 1 in total. So it looks like he's getting over his injuries. Guendouzi, I can't lie, you're a pagan. You're a pagan. He said he received a warmer welcome at Lazio than at Arsenal. You're a shameless brother. And now I see why Mikel Arteta rubbed you out. And you was a guy. One thing you can never, your beef with Mikel Arteta, that's your business. And so far, we're not missing you. And you've gone on from strength to strength. You've been capped by your country and that. The fans loved you here. Even the fans that weren't necessarily the biggest of fans, they loved how you fought on the pitch. We took you like one of our own. For some of them, so some fans that are, obviously you're 24, old enough to be your dad, they looked at you like a son. So how dare you try and criticize the atmosphere at the Emirates? Yes, it wasn't as rosy as it was now, but you as a player, people had a lot of time for you, shameless individual, absolute shameless pussy. Nonetheless, people, he said, the fans' passion in this city is amazing. I was welcomed warmly like in Marseille, but more than at Arsenal, I will pay them Lazio fans back with interest. Big up to you. I hope you do that, but you're a pagan. You're absolute pussy. Granit Xhaka propaganda apparently has the most final third entries than any other player in the Bundesliga this season. So are we missing the current Leverkusen, man? We've got a former one in the middle of the park. You look at our next six fixtures, people. Chelsea away, Sevilla away. We need 6 points across the 2 competitions. Sheffield United at home, we need to be winning that. Newcastle away and Sevilla at home towards the end of this, what we're seeing is scary. West Ham away is scary as well. Time to stand up to be counted. Arsenal have kept 3 clean sheets in 3 Premier League away games this season. Only 3 teams in the history of the competition have managed to go 4 games without conceding from the start of the season, people. Martinelli could be set to make his 100th Premier League appearance this weekend when Arsenal visit Chelsea. And obviously, he sat certain man centre mid down on their arse a few years ago. Arsenal have won away at Stamford Bridge more often than any other team in the Premier League history. Let's keep that going. Arsenal have won their last 3 Premier League away games against Chelsea. No team has won 4 consecutive games at Stamford Bridge in the history of the competition. Records are there to be broken both for Chelsea and Arsenal. Arsenal have won 5 and lost just 1 of the last 7 games against Chelsea. Guendouzi, we no longer claim him. He's a pussy, old man. It's not harsh, DG. Them man just ain't good enough. Eddie Havertz, complete waste of money. Bit harsh on Eddie. Havertz, the jury's still out. Jorginho, no legs. I agree with that, but Jorginho's shown he's got a role to play at least for this season. Cedric, the less said on Cedric, the better. Why didn't he say something about Marseille, Guendouzi moving? Shameless. He's still stung. He's still stung. It stung. It's like a man or a woman that comes out of a relationship where there's still feelings there. He's still stung. He's stung, man. Arteta really broke my man's heart, man. Congrats on the 30 under 30. Daryl, one love for that and everybody else. Again, people, on the topic of content, don't rest, people. Smash your like buttons today and also tomorrow. Set your reminders because we will be doing a watch along half an hour from kickoff for Chelsea Arsenal tomorrow. First watch along of the day tomorrow will be the Merseyside derby. We're watching Liverpool against Everton. That's a video I did in relation to Aaron Ramsdale, so that's something for you lot to continue watching. Content doesn't break, people. I did a preview with Kaya of Football London in relation to Arsenal Chelsea. Again, I've been spamming you lots of things, people. And I also did one with Matisse, people. So yeah, something to tickle everybody's fancy. What else have we got? Beer tins. Oh, and we've got another video coming out in a hot second as well with, Cavcast View as well. He's a Chelsea supporter. He's good, people. So yeah, make sure you check out his content. So yeah, man. Content, and more content, people. So yeah, it seems like it's a busy day. Anyone notice Odegaard's role sort of changed this season? Could be because Xhaka is gone. I did a video on this. Go and check it out on my channel. In fact, let me be shameless and go find that. If I don't promote myself, it will. Big up yourself. Havertz will come into form, I believe. We've got no choice. Like, I don't believe or disbelieve. I go with what I can see. I can see some positives, and it just looks mediocre. I don't right now. If we go back to the summer, I told you lot. And it don't look like it that much. But I said Timber's a very underrated signing. Obviously, the talking points were with Havertz. Declan Rice, 105 million established Premier League man. But Timber, shrewd business. And it's unfortunate that 50 minutes into his official Premier League game, he got injured off the standards he set in pre-season and the Community Shield. You can see how Timber in his own way provides us with a lot and indirectly makes us in his own way closer to City and being more competitive. Obviously, the same said for Declan Rice. David Raya provides something with Mikel Arteta. With Kai Havertz, as I've probably said a million times, it was more of a, I like you. I like certain things you do as a footballer. I defo didn't want you signed for Arsenal. I defo didn't want you signed for 65 million. I defo didn't. I still can't see how you feel the void Xhaka is left, because you probably answered more questions, really. And I don't see how you make us stronger. And when we signed Havertz, it was more of a case of, I don't blindlessly follow anyone. But for now, Mikel Arteta is my man. You've shown you've made some decisions we haven't always agreed with, but they've worked. So I give you the benefit of the doubt. If you see something in this player, by all means, Arteta, be captain, save a hole. I do think, Arteta's trying to save everyone. You can't save everyone, but do your thing in it. But I can't see it right now, man. I can't see it. And reality is I don't expect necessarily to win the Prem or the champs and things like that. But I want to go all the way. I want to, better last season. I want to give a good account of ourselves in all the comps. And I don't think Havertz has been appalling, but he hasn't been amazing. Hasn't pulled up any trees. And there's more questions than answers. And I don't see it. And I've got past the point of Havertz now. I'm looking at Arteta car. 65 million was spent on that. And I hear it. Havertz can play a couple of roles. But what is he? And what is he? I speak to a lot of my bridges that support Chelsea, and they've been through this. The same things we're kind of saying, they're kind of saying that they were saying about Kai Havertz. What is he? Some of you might say he's a centre mid, he's a false nine, he plays here. Arteta talks about his versatility, but what are you? What are you? Timber is quote unquote able to, he's a centre half or a right back, but he's able to play across those. Do you get it? Tomiyasu, the same. Benjamin White, a centre back or a right back, able to do both. Havertz can do everything, but what are you? No matter how much we waffle about versatility, what specifically are you? So I hope he's able to answer these questions in times to come. But right now, it's looking fugazi. Let's be honest. We need to find that receipt, really. Chelsea rubbed us blind, essentially. But I don't think it was a snap decision to sign Havertz. There must have been indirect talks with Havertz advisors and Mikel Arteta, so he must know a tune he can get out of him. But boy, it's only been a couple of weeks in the Premier League season. But if we're still saying this, we've not given ourselves many wiggle room, because it's 60-odd million spent. He's probably signed a 4 or 5 year deal and he's on big money. It has to work with Mikel Arteta. And I hope one day we look back at these tough times. What I would say is, to give Havertz some sort of credibility, he's not the first, nor will he be the last Arsenal player that's had a tough start and people have turned on, or people haven't been convinced about, myself included. I was convinced with Odegaard, but it wasn't you. No one, even Liam Brady's come out and said Odegaard didn't convince me at first. Odegaard had that. There's been many a players. People had a lot to say about Benjamin White. People had a lot to say about Ramsdale, and there's plenty of others. So hopefully he can do a thing, really. But boy, we're gonna have to see. Havertz has been beyond appalling, bro. Bit harsh to call him appalling. Absolutely awful. Waste of money. He and Eddie needs to go. Sick and tired of both of them. Havertz and Jesus, in my opinion. Havertz and Jesus, two strikers playing in the middle, in my opinion. Sancho's skill set could be incredibly useful to a team like us. Problem is, we can't be sure he's the same player he is anymore. I like Sancho in theory, but in fact, quick to go back with Havertz. If Havertz was 18 years of age, or if he was 20, I would cut him more of a blind. But reality is, Havertz, you've dealt with that wonder kid tag. You've won the Champions League. You've been playing with Chelsea and handling the talking points for years that comes with it. You've played enough games and seasons in the Premier League and things like that. You should be a leader. You are, I should be looking at you, which I am to a degree, in the same way I looked at Odegaard and the same way I looked at Jesus and Zinchenko. I don't really kind of see it. With Sancho, I like the player. I like him a lot, really. I do like him. But for the wages, for the money that United would probably ask to sell him to a rival, even a loan fee, is probably a myth. And I think we've got too many of the... I would say I wouldn't be against Jadon Sancho if there's a deal to be done, but it feels that we've got even the players that are good at this team, we've got too many players that are rough diamonds or need a bit of polishing. Like you look at Saliba, creme de la creme, Rolls Royce, needs 1-2 things out of his game. Odegaard the same, Fabio Vieira the same, Saka the same, Martinelli, Havertz the poster boy of that. I think we've got too many of these players. And as I said, Mikel's a great man and a great manager, but you can't save everyone. We can't get a tune out of everyone. So we'll have to see, man. Appreciate the kind words, Arsenal Adventure, man. Appreciate that. Couldn't have done it without you lot, man. But yeah, to answer your question, in theory, I would take Sancho, but there's too many question marks, really. Big up Gooner as well. It's only a great show because of people like yourselves, man. So I wouldn't be against it, really, but you know, if Arsenal are thinking in January to kind of, you know, because obviously, you know, in January and in the summer, the deals that you see happening for Arsenal and all these clubs right now, for all we know, Edu could be talking with advisors, dinners are happening, and all of these things. Really and truly, Arsenal have to be gearing towards the summer in January, and for whatever, Sancho would be a significant part of the budget because of the wages and whatever United are asking. Now, I like Jadon Sancho. I think he's still got potential. I still think there's a tune, but if you are looking at going for Pedro Neto, Osimhen, Ivan Toney, you can't get them all. You know, obviously Cronkies are rich, but we're not going to do the PSG thing really. So I just think it's a myth and it's too much. Every signing's a risk, but for me, I like the idea of Jadon Sancho and what he could be in theory. If he signed for Arsenal tomorrow, and for argument's sake, Martinelli on the bench, Sancho, you're playing against Chelsea. To be fair, he plays well. Can we be guaranteed he's going to put performance? 10 games, you don't know what you're going to get from him, really and truly. I like him a lot, but probably need to be getting players we could get more of a tune out of. I hope we keep away from Sancho. Why do you lot want us to sign these players? Is beyond me. Havertz, guy to his confidence needs to play up front, I think you're saying, so that he's limited to options he passes the ball to. I did like the assist he came with Man City, came off the bench, he did against Man City. If I'm honest, where Havertz is concerned, for me, you're looking like an impactor off the bench right now until I see anything better in it, because I just don't see it, if I'm honest, at this moment in time. This is what I'm saying. Havertz been around the block and should be setting an example, leading. Man's playing like some under 18s that's been promoted into the first team, just timid and clueless. I do think his language style goes against him, and I don't quite agree with the Ozil comparisons, because the only comparisons is that you both don't smile and you're German. Like, you can't talk to Mesut Ozil. For all the question marks from Mesut Ozil, man could see the quality. You know, Arsenal fans, we were in awe. Was it against Sunderland away? I could be wrong, when he's doing kick-ups with chewing gum and that, you know, Havertz kind of moves like a donkey. He'll probably take out someone's teeth if he tries to do that. And I do give him the luxury of, you are learning a new system. You are, you know, you have to prove yourself again, but them luxuries are not really there. You know, I like to think I'm quite fair with Havertz, but away from that, you know, even when he gets praised for the dirty work he does, and this ain't a Havertz praise or critique, this is just honest. I have an appreciation of that, but man need to be doing that in midfield anyways. Like, anytime we're praising midfielders for working hard, or we have to watch games again and dissect performances and find running stats and metrics and final third pressures and all these things, I'm not saying that you can disregard these things, because statistics paint a picture. I just feel we're in you start to get into a dangerous territory, really. And to be honest with you, I start to look beyond Havertz. As much as I like Mikel Arteta, he's got to hold that. If Havertz doesn't work, you've got to hold that, because no one told you to buy him, you know. We could have got a young IC3 in midfield to partner Declan Rice, the next party. We could have, you know, went and found the next Xhaka. You know, I don't think Maddison quite plays in that role at Spurs, but, you know, you could have said Odegaard go in that role that Havertz is in now, and maybe Maddison in the 10 or vice versa. There could have been other things, and I'm sure there's other targets that Arteta was going on, but, you know, it's not a snap decision. Arsenal had to have been thinking about Havertz for a couple of months. There had to have been a lot of deliberation. You know, Arsenal make a big song and dance about collaborative approaches and things like that. So they had to be sure that there was something there. Man can't just tell me about versatility, bro. Like, really and truly, obviously there is versatility in football, but should versatility be praised in football nowadays? Is it not a necessity generally? Unless you're a centre half within reason, you know. You're not going to see Van Dijk play right back. You're not going to see Saliba play right back, even though I'm pretty sure they both could do it. Versatility is almost a necessity in today's day and age. Even if you're a centre mid, you know, you look at Bernardo Silva, he can play a couple of roles in midfield as well as playing out wide. You look at Benjamin White, you look at Jesus, you know, Saka can play on the left and the right. Martinelli can play in a couple of roles. Trossard can play 1-2 roles. Fabio Vieira can play as a 10 and an 8, and I'm forcing it, but play, you know, out wide. Man can't be talking about versatility, really. It's a necessity, really. And it's really a necessity in today's day and age. Whether you're able to perform in one or multiple roles, that's another debate in itself. Appreciate that, you know. And I couldn't have done it without you. A man said fresh trim, though. What's man on this weekend? Allow me, man. I was looking like a microphone head, man. I need to look like my mum's son again. Big up, mummy, man. Trust a little Kudus to link up with his big bro Partey. There you have it. But Partey might have been a negative influence, man. I know Partey one day is going to tell us his real age. And obviously, Partey just looks like a man that likes the nightlife. Word to Fabrice Muamba. You don't need to spam Fabrice's Muamba's Instagram, because he's hiding from the show, man. But yeah, man, obviously it's easy for us fans to say, innit, because Odegaard's been a great player. Arsenal fans were talking about signing Buendia, so we're not always right. But right now, I'm sure you could have got even better for the money we spent on Havertz. And again, I ain't got a list of players, but I'm sure for less than 65 million, there could have been a player that could have hit the ground running or whatnot. And it's been a bit of a missing midfield, really and truly. Like the midfielders we've signed under Mikel Arteta, who has really banged, and I'm not criticizing, who's really banged? Odegaard. All right, if we just band 8s and 10s together, Odegaard's been quality. Tough 6 months, but you see what he brings to the table. I don't think you can't say Partey hasn't been a good player. I think Partey's concerns over his injuries, and I think there's a handful of games where Partey looks like that Partey where if you was to go and look at his highlights on YouTube, Partey's banged. It's early days for Declan Rice, but man can't say he hasn't banged. Then you look at it, what? Fabio Vieira's good player. Don't hold him in that high regard like the names I've said before. Havertz, we've just spoken about him. The jury is still out. Lokonga, a dud. Like, Company, I'm on to you. When we play Burnley, if Company's still there, I need 7-0 because you lied to us. Next Yaya Toure, we finessed ourselves. It's a bit booky, really and truly. And when I look all over Arsenal's team, that's the one area now I'm like, oh, you know, there's a 1-2 question marks. There's still the void of Granit Xhaka, which, don't get me wrong, Xhaka is probably a mismember off the pitch as well as on it. And, you know, he's a good player. We missed a lot, really and truly. But I think because of the inconsistencies around Kai Havertz and just the question marks in that left-sided 8, you would think that Xhaka is like a prime Vieira in it. So I'm not dissing Xhaka, but I think a lot's being said because of that, really. You know, defensively, I do think if you could get another versatile defender, we'd be all right. But I think defensively, we've got some decent options. I know a lot of people like myself would like another winger or a striker, but I'd say in the defensive third and the final third, there's decent options there. The middle third, it's not that there's not good options. There's just question marks. I like Jorginho, but Jorginho's not a man that is going to play 20, 38 games like Partey could or be in your thinking around that. The same goes with Declan Rice. There's a couple games Jorginho can do its thing, and I wouldn't let Jorginho go in January unless you're bringing me a midfielder. You can go in the summer, and that goes for Smith Rowe, Smith Rowe. Who else is there? Smith Rowe, Ramsdale. Anyone unhappy, bro, you're all staying until the summer, innit? Unless you kick up a fuss. And then with Arteta and Edu need to rush you. You're staying until the summer. But there's just too much question marks around midfield. El Nene, good guy, like him a lot. You know, the way we're moving, we need to, you're not going to be here, innit? Jorginho, on the wrong side of 30, a bit like El Nene. Partey, again, flirting with leaving allegedly last summer. And that will probably go, I'm actually going to do a video on this. That will probably be a thing next summer. But, 3, quote unquote, or 2 of the 3 key players to the point with Jorginho, Partey, and El Nene. El Nene is, that there's been games, I think El Nene can get games here, little 10 minutes, half an hour. There's games that could be used for him. There's too much question marks around midfield, like pure central midfield options. Who are there? Rice is one of them. Partey on ability is one of them. Yes, you've got the Smith Rowes, the Fabio Vieiras, the Odegaards, I guess Havertz, guys that can play as 8s, but there's not enough conviction, in my opinion. Cedric can cut. But then again, as much as I think Cedric can cut, if we can't bring in someone that can play left back, right back, I understand keeping hold of Cedric. He shouldn't be here. We should have moved him on. But, I think next summer is the summer we can finally get rid of the dosh, respectfully to Lokonga, Tavares, Cedric. I hate to throw Tini in there, but because of how it's gone, Tini's thrown in there. These are the things. And at least 3 of the 4 names, excluding Tini, these are not sexy signings, attractive signings, people that people are going to be queuing up for. I think Tierney is, but there's got to be a reason for all the talk around Newcastle and this team and that team. We've only gone on loan. And, hopefully Tierney can get back fit sooner rather than later. Which player for 20 million was better than Havertz? Not a clue, if I'm honest with you. I never said that. But, yeah, man, I just think they could get more value for money. Havertz hasn't lit the place alight, but he's not stunk it out either. A bit of a lack of end product, but physically imposing and solid. I agree with that. I'd say the things I'm annoyed about Havertz the most, I don't think he grabs the game by the balls enough. Like, man, don't really see him. Yeah, you got an assist against City, but I don't really see him. And I'd love for you to find your shooting boots in it. Like, I don't care if you're out and out striker, false 9, target man, poacher. Man need to be able to score some goals and look composing in that, really. So I don't think he stunk up the place. I don't think he's been amazing, but it does look spooky. 2-1 Chelsea. I hope not, my guy. And Company finessed us. We finessed ourselves. When you find yourself talking about what we're talking about right now with Havertz and obviously the Congo, we had to have finessed ourselves, really. Signings could go wrong, but man are not just signing people randomly. Like, there's analytics, there's talking, there's scouting, there's personality analysis and all these things. I'm going to need Endrick, Victor Rug level Brazilian talent from Edu soon, bro. Get it done. I've never seen that. We got linked with one striker, young striker in Brazil. He's 17. I've never seen him play before. I ain't even seen YouTube highlights, but I hear Brazilian. Bring him. Can't believe City got Haaland and Alvarez same window. That's what world-class recruitment looks like, bro. It's a mad thing, innit? I'm trying to see Arteta find some ballers from his hometown and Edu find those gems in Brazil. I don't need household names. I need competent men. Bambi Lokonga lacking the mentality. The Lokonga is just a dodgy one because I do like him. I do think there's something in Lokonga, but the way we're moving, I think you need to get to where you need to get to. I think you need to go away. I don't know you, innit? But I think your mentality is soft. Like you look at the all or nothing where Eddie and Ketty are rightly so stuck it on you. You look at obviously, you know, there was a point in Lokonga's career, like every international break at Arsenal that first season, he's itching and crying in the media. Oh, I'm not selected for Belgium. I know a lot of people said he could play as an 8, and I think he can, but I'm sorry. Like, look at the central midfielders we've had. Like I know they're not all 8s, but the Cesc Fabregas, the Nasris, the Ramses, the Jack Wilsheres, the Santi Cazorlas, the Mesut Ozils. Bro, man can't tell me Lokonga needs to be coming to the Emirates and playing as an 8. That's a myth. I do think he's got the scope to play as a 6, but he's like a deer in a headlight. He's like a deer in the headlights, blinkered on ice skates, really. So he hasn't got the maturity off the ball. And I do think he's got a bit of a languid style. And the Yaya Toure comparisons didn't help you at all. Like, it's okay that it just didn't work. Sometimes signings didn't work in it. And you know what? Lokonga cost 17, 18, 19, 20 mil. You know, I think Fabio Vieira is a decent player and looks a lot more convincing. But, you know, maybe some would say the jury's still out. It's not really that deep. He's 20 million didn't bang. That didn't bang. It is what it is. You kind of give yourself a scope to live. Obviously, every signing, no matter if you spend 1 million or 20 million or 100 million, if it doesn't work, it's expensive. But you give yourself a lifeline with, I don't want to keep talking about it, and I'm not saying scapegoat the man, but where you start to filter with Kai Havertz and things, obviously 65 million is a lot of money. Big up Anelka, them days are gone. Lokonga looked cold at Anderlecht. I got a video and he did look good against Chelsea in the... Did we not play them in pre-season one time? I don't know why it didn't happen. That Gabriel Moscardo, I can't pronounce his name. He does look lit. And Edu needs... Bro, Edu... Brazil... Don't know what happened there, but Edu, as I was saying, apologies. Edu's worked at the Brazilian FA. You must still have brethren there that could, you know, oh boy, who's looking good in the under 21s, the under 18s, the this, that, the other. You talk with them. Obviously, South America is a bit difficult because you can't really sign people till they're 18 years of age, and then obviously there's red tape around potentially work permits. That's probably why you see other countries, you know, Portugal and these kind of nations, the laws are a bit more relaxed there, really. And even from a sporting point of view, I do think it makes sense sometimes for the South American lads to go to Portugal or go to France, get to grips with European football, and then make the big moves. Obviously, because of what's going on in the world, it's not really a thing. But, you know, Ukraine was one of them. How much Brazilian youths did you see at Shakhtar at a point? Well, the man said, wallahi, if Edu doesn't bring us one of these Brazilian wonder kids flying around in next year or so, he needs to, man. And as much as I love Arsene Wenger, I'm not going to lie. One thing I would say to Arsene Wenger during his time at Arsenal, yeah, like when you think of Arsenal, you think of France, innit? Like there must be bare people that are French or from French-speaking nations that obviously because of that link is there, you know. And obviously we've had some great French players, and I know the times changed really in that, you know, Wenger was the guy for France. Now it doesn't matter where you are, everybody knows where everybody is, and rightly so. If I don't know what's a random country, let's just say Singapore, you know, again with the greatest of respect, not really known for the greatest of football. But if I'm Arsenal scouts and I hear Chelsea or United or City or Real Madrid or whatever, they're in Singapore watching certain games, bro, I'm going to send people out there just because they're there. So that stuff happens. But for me, and I know it's easier said than done, but if I just say some names, the present day French dons, yes, we've got Saliba, big him up, but for me to not have seen us get a Mbappe, I know, an Mbappe, a Tchouameni, a Osman Dembele, all them kind of guys there, like we need to be getting these guys, man. Wenger milked the French market. Kante, Wenger milked the French market dry back in the day. Edu needs to tap into his home country. Are we going to ask the same questions about the amount of players that play in other teams then play with us and it goes downhill? I think you should. Belgium said to me he never understood why we signed Lokonga, basically saying he was never that guy. I just think Lokonga just don't grab games by the balls, really. And I just don't think Arteta's... I think you had Arteta's faith, but ultimately, if you don't do nothing, it's peak. I'm trying to see... Oh, sorry, we've already seen that comment. I would have loved Alvarez, man. And, if, you know, again, that's one player I'd love from City. If there's any hope, which I don't think there is really. You know, I think Edu, Arteta, anyone that's got City contact phone, we need to be talking to him. After that game at the Emirates, we need to be talking to him, man. We need to be putting, you know, noise in his ear saying, you know what, they'll never love you like Haaland, you know. You know how good you are. You've been in better form than Haaland. I know Haaland's top goal scorer. We need to be selling him dreams. But that shows what you can do, man. You look at City. They tried to buy Declan Rice. They bought Grealish for 100 million. They bought established names, but they've shown that they will go and you know, Rico Lewis has come from the academy. They'll buy Premier League proven players, or they'll buy a little Alvarez. So it pays to do the scouting. I know City have an endless pit of money, but if spending money was all that was required, Man United would have won a couple of Premier Leagues in recent years. We would have, potentially Spurs as well with Ndombele, etc., many other clubs. But they spend correctly, and as you've seen with City, they'll walk away, rightly or wrongly. They, you know, again, it seemed like Declan Rice, we did our legwork and it worked for us, but they walked away from that. They walked away from Jorginho. They walked away from Fred. They walked away from Harry Maguire. And there's probably several others, really. You know, how many players at City, how many signings have City made that haven't worked? You know, Grealish took a year to get going, but you could see it was going to work. Calvin Phillips has been a dud, you know, probably because, you know, he can't stay fit in that. Calvin Phillips, off the top of my head, the biggest dud for City. When, like, you'd be scratching your head, which maybe I'm wrong and you lot get examples, but what City signings, whether they've been big money or not, who hasn't really took off? Now, in the last 2 years, we've done a better job in terms of signing, maybe even free, because, yeah, it would have been free. From the summer, we signed Benjamin White and Ramsdale. Obviously, them two have worked. Tomiyasu has worked. Trossard has worked. Who else? Saliba was like a new signing, so the development path there worked. Declan Rice, I know it's only been a handful of games. Come on, man, that's worked. Jesus has worked, if I haven't said his name. There's, you know, the jury's still out for Fabio Vieira, but at the very least, you can say, Fabio, it's not a case of you can't be in the squad. There's something you can bring. So it just pays to do your due diligence, man. Big up in the circle as well, man. Can see Alvarez going La Liga soon, as he should. Lokonga is that kid who has all the talent, the physical blessings, skill, athleticism to burn, and technical prowess. Bosses it in training, but under the spotlight, the game passes him by. Alvarez done finishing secretly on par with Haaland. Haaland just got that anticipation and positioning. It'd be lovely to get someone like Alvarez, man. But, and you know, as good as Alvarez is, unless you're Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, them kind of players there's always players. We just need to be focusing on the next Alvarez. Alvarez is, you see, life is mad, you know. Alvarez has, I don't want to say he's completed football, but a man's completed football already. Like, deep it, he's won the treble, he's won the World Cup, he played with Messi. Oh, got stories for days to tell your grandkids. I'm going to be spinning the same video I spin on my intro to my grandkids for sure, but life is crazy. Us refusing to pay 25 million for Bellingham sums us up perfectly. When was that? I know we tried to get him as an under 14, which again, I covered in the video. So yeah, that's some homework for you lot to do, but it pays to do that, man. And especially, we need to get the South American market on lock, not just Brazil, man. Man need to be going to Argentina, Uruguay. Always got some decent players there. Whether it's, you know, obviously you've actually, I know Arsenal were the kings of we tried, but Valverde, literally, we could not get a work permit. You've seen the images of him training with Arsenal, but there's strikers in Uruguay, there's centre mids in Uruguay. There's things that can be done, man. But the only problem that goes against that is two things, in my opinion. The first, obviously, is work permits and around that, and fans in it. Because obviously, if you buy someone from South America, yeah, they might hit the ground running, but you need to give them time. And, you know, time is an illusion, really, especially if you're trying to compete for a league and all of these sort of things, really. You look at Alvarez, he did get to blood in when you could turn around and you got a Haaland. You know, I don't think every club's got that. Really wanted us to get Nunes before City. We need an 8 like that in our squad. Would have loved Nunes, man. And I would have preferred us to get Kovacic, if anyone, from Chelsea. But it is what it is, man. Me and Pep got the same amount, same thinking, didn't it, Pep? I know you ain't filled the felt the void. You ain't filled the void. Sorry that Arteta's left. Sign me, man. Sign me, man. But yeah, people. So yeah, man. With that being said, though, people, I'm going to go and have some lunch again. Check out the various links I've posted in the live chat. Don't forget, people, tomorrow we've got free watch along, saving the best till last. You've obviously got Arsenal, Chelsea. I'm actually with you lot going to watch Man City Brighton at 3 p.m. And the early morning kickoff is obviously the Merseyside derby, Liverpool, Everton. So we'll be doing that together. Next week, we're watching hella Champions League games together. But hey, we've got to make up for lost time with the international break. So one love for you lot listening, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch. Smash the like. like button. Hope to see you all tomorrow. Thank you for your engagement, your talking points, your kind words in relation to the nominees for the Adidas feature. Appreciate it. Couldn't have done it without you lot, man. Hope you lot are all in good health. Hope you and your loved ones are having a great week, and hope the weekend's even better. So we'll link up soon, man. Smash the like button, comment, like, subscribe, turn on your notification bells, check out my YouTube playlist. And yeah, man, it's always a lovely chat. I'll see you lot all tomorrow, innit?
Because you always use that active when defending. I think it's like.
Tongue